Okay, we're good to go now.
I'd like to call to order the October 13th, 2020 Park and Recreation Commission board meeting. Perry, are you going to do roll call or is Janet?
Ms. Canton will do it.
Okay, Commissioner Miller,
Here.
Commissioner Strother,
Here.
Commissioner Willett. I don't see him on there, correct? Commissioner Mork. Commissioner Mork. Commissioner Mork. Commissioner Novolosky.
Here.
Commissioner McCauley. Commissioner McCauley.
Here.
Commissioner Sorum.
Here.
Commissioner Darlene.
Here.
Commissioner Doskotch. Commissioner Good.
Here.
Commissioner Itis.
Here.
And Commissioner Moore.
Here.
Okay.
Item number 3, I'd like to ask for the motion and a second for the approval of tonight's agenda, please.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Item number 4, I ask for a motion and a second for the approval of the meetings from last month, please.
Just a step backwards, Commissioner. Ms. Canton would need to take roll call on the meeting agenda, just as a formality.
Sorry. Yep, sorry.
Commissioner Miller.
Yay.
Commissioner Strother.
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley.
Aye.
Commissioner Darlene. Commissioner Darlene.
Aye.
Commissioner Doskotch.
Aye.
Commissioner Good.
Aye.
Commissioner Itis.
Aye. Thank you. Now, item 4. Ask for a motion and a second for approval of the minutes from last month, please. Roll call. After the motion.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please, Janet.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Strother.
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley.
Aye.
Commissioner Darlene.
Aye.
Commissioner Doskotch. Commissioner Good.
Aye.
Commissioner Itis.
Aye. Thank you. Item number 5, part A. I believe, Perry, you're on, or you're going to do the introduction, Perry?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Before we begin by introducing 2 members of the Garden Council, I'll give a presentation to you this evening, and 1 member who is as an attendee this evening. I'd like to take just one quick step back. Our 2 student members that were not able to join us last month, if they would like to just briefly introduce themselves to the Commission. So that would be Student Commissioners Nick Mort and Student Commissioner Jack Sorum. So if you'd like to just briefly introduce yourself, Nick and Jack, maybe we'll start with Nick and then quickly go to Jack. Will had the pleasure of introducing himself last month, but I think it's important to recognize that our students are going to be with us for the next year.
Yeah, hello, I'm Nick Mork. I'm a sophomore at St. Thomas Academy, and I live on Bruce Avenue here in Edina.
Well,
Hi,
thank
my
you,
name
Nick.
is
And then
Jack
Mr. Sorum.
Hi, my name is Jack Sorum. I'm a junior at Edina, and I live in the Highlands Park neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you all three of you for being student commissioners with us this year. With that, we'll move on to, as Chair Itis mentioned, item 5A on your agenda. This evening we have 2 members of the Garden Council that will be in the presentation room, and then 1 member who is an attendee. So I'd like to now introduce Karen Platt with the Edina Garden Council, Liz Genovese with the Edina Council, and recognize Betty Workinger, who is listed as an attendee. With that, I'll allow them to introduce themselves, and as they're doing that, I will put up a few slides that they will cover tonight. We'll try to coordinate advancing the slides together and move them. And just as a reminder, because of feedback with some of our mics, if we could mute unless we're talking, that would be fantastic. So we'll get that quality record for the public to watch going forward. So with that, I will mute my microphone. I will turn it over to Karen and Liz, and then I will begin by sharing my screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Perry. Thank you for arranging this time. Am I loud enough for everybody, first of all? Thank you. Okay.
Yes.
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 Thank you for arranging
Can
this
I-
time. And Liz, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bypass you, but I'm Karen Platt. I'll let Liz talk next.
I'm Liz Genovese. I don't know if you can see me, but Karen of the Tranquility Garden Committee from the Edina Garden Council, and I'm very happy to be here.
So thank you, Liz and Karen, and I'm hoping you're able to see an introductory slide. If someone could just kind of give me a nod that they're able to see a little PowerPoint deck there for the Edina Garden Council. And with that, Karen, I'll turn it over to you, and I'll advance slides when you tell me to proceed.
There. Got it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Getting used to the format. Again, Perry, thank you for setting this up for us. And we're really glad from the Edina Garden Council to be given this opportunity to talk to the commission, to update our status of our Tranquility Garden project with you. We met, I believe it was either back in 2017 or so when we first discussed this project. So the first half, there's about first half of this presentation, and there's about 18 slides. In the first half will be just a review about the Edina Garden Council itself, and the second half more about the Tranquility Garden. So moving right along, here's just the basic information about Edina Garden Council. We've been around for a while. We currently have 105 members, and we're organized where there's 5 clubs that are under the umbrella organization of the council. The council is made up of executive officers, and then the 5 club presidents. Those are the voting people. And we are part of a hierarchy of garden clubs, state, regional, national, and we have a website. And that can be that for now. Thank you, Perry. And on that website, we have a mission and a vision statement. I'm not going to read through it. It's there. Just to let you know is that basically we are a philanthropic organization focusing on horticultural events and education. And most of our volunteering benefits Edina and its public garden areas, especially Arneson Acres Park. Thank you, Barry. Go ahead now. Go. Yeah, thanks. And we are headquartered at the greenhouses at Arneson Acres Park. And there's the address on 4711 West 70th Street where the park is. And it has those greenhouses. They're kind of tucked away in the northwest corner. And they're working greenhouses and there's also some rooms in there that are used for seating and a meeting. Also, the city horticulturist, Tim Zimmerman, has his office there, and he oversees the greenhouse, and we coordinate with him on our activities there. The Edina Garden Council members, they volunteer nearly 1,000 hours every year to seed and transplant, and these are plants that will get put into all the public areas around the city. There's about, roughly about 100 of these sites. 7 of the larger sites, the Edina Garden Council members plant out in the springtime. The other ones, it's the city, Tim Zimmerman and his summer crew plant those out. Next slide, please. And here we are. I can vouch, these are our members on the left there. This is this spring, we're planting out at Roslyn Park, corner of 66 in Valley View. And we're planting out in mid-May. And then the other slide shows, voila, what you get. And so we're very happy and proud to do this for the city. Next slide, please. Our other yearly contributions we do is, besides the volunteering at the greenhouse, we also purchase the greenhouse supplies, roughly about $2,500 to $3,000 a year. We donate $2,000 for horticultural scholarships in the metro area, and some of the individual clubs also add to that donation. We collaborate with other organizations like the Edina Historical Society for the 4th of July, Edina Parade, Richfield and Bloomington Garden Clubs, the Tri-City Flower Show. We do education through speakers and doing, which are free and open to the public. And we do tours of Arneson and do some little youth education programs here and there. Doing tours or little programs at the greenhouse are wildly popular with the young. And we donate to the buckthorn abatement programs that one of our clubs is especially ardent about at Art Center and Bredesen Parks. Been working on that since, about 2004. It's a continuing battle. And we also do some floral decoration at various places. This year, we weren't able to go to the VA hospital, of course. Next slide, please. Okay, and then our other contributions are a lot of them are for Arneson Acres Park itself, the horticultural park of Edina. And this picture shows what most people recognize and remember about Arneson is the fountain and the gazebo located in the area we call the Grand Allée. Big, long vista that has flower beds down the middle and perennial beds and conifers, huge trees in the sides. It's very, very scenic and beautiful. We, the Edina Garden Council, we purchased fountain twice, the original fountain, and then it had to be replaced with this one. And the gazebo. And then other projects we've done is various projects throughout the years, irrigation, arches, metal fencing, garden beds, flowering materials, trees, shrubs, that type of thing. Next slide, please. And we pay for this by our major fundraising project, which is the Edina Garden Council Mother Day Weekend Yearly Plant Sale. And that's held at the Arneson Acres Park lower parking lot outside, come rain or snow or sleet or hail. And due to the pandemic this year, we couldn't hold it in the park, so we had it at private home sites of a couple of our members. And we also had to change the procedure. We didn't order our inventory in and have it delivered at Arneson. We instead did pre-orders, and then we had essentially curbside pickup at the members' homes. And these from these plant sales, a major fundraiser, we average a net profit about $12,000 a year. And our other secondary fundraising is a garden tour once every 2 years. And we will get anywhere from $1,500 to $4,000 for that. Other than that, we get outside donations and some grants. Next slide, please. All right, so the current big project at Arneson Acres Park is the Tranquility Garden. All right, now excuse me for this very text-ridden page. I'm not going to go through it. I just kind of did, so it is a summary of the major milestones and dollar amounts for the life of the project to date. Okay, and the steps of the design. And you guys all know this: design, design, construct, blah 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 blah. But the important thing I want to tell people is the collaboration that we had from everybody who made this possible. And part of that is our own Edina Garden Council members that became part of our Tranquility Garden Committee. They slugged it out over the years. They got this going and kept going at it. And then also with the city. The city is you guys, thank you so much. You've been great to work with. I especially want to thank Ann Cattry, Susan Faust helped in the beginning of the design contracts. And then later, Tom Swenson helped so much when we were figuring out the bids, the contract bids, and getting that passed. And then and Tom continues to help. And Perry, thank you, Perry. The committee, let me just say, we tried to have it so we always had at least one member for each of the 5 clubs. And we had an average of about 9 members over the years. And Tim Zimmerman was also on the committee. He was a non-voting member, but he always, gave his knowledgeable input and let us know what the city policies were and stuff too. So, and the important bottom line is, to date, the Edina Garden Council has spent on this project $84,189. So, next slide, please. Here is the finalized hybrid design illustration for the Tranquility Garden, showing some of the main features, and then also our motto. This is, like I said, I did not say, I should have said, it's a renovation. That was the first line in the prior slide. But it's a renovation of the former Memory Garden site. And the Memory Garden had been there for decades and was really worn out. We'll talk about that some more. But the motto in the Memory Garden had this, people realized it was an enclosure, had a sense of peace. They liked that. We wanted to keep those type of themes. And so also have a place to rejuvenate and celebrate, contemplate. People, it's geared towards a more intimate feel and for more small groups. It's not a large group area. There are a couple turf areas where you could have real small groups we're talking about there. Some of the features we kept, and I'll just talk these features briefly, that we kept from the Memory Garden. As you notice, the design, it's basically kind of a rectangular shape with a rounded dome top. That top points towards north. That is north on this diagram. And the south side is a pre-existing hedge. And down at the lower left corner there already was existing a really nice hedge arbor, an arch arbor entrance there. And then you go along the south hedge over to the southeast corner, and the hedge went around that corner, but we decided to open up that corner and add a new arch entry there. And then you go around and then around the top, and in the middle there is the north arch, and that also currently or previously existed and was there, so we kept that. Otherwise, there was a lot of old trees, benches, stuff had to get cleared out. So and then what happens with this enclosure is that from each of those 3 entrances, there's a spur of a brick walkway that goes in and then joins what's kind of a lumpy circle walkway. And off that circle walkway, we have, like they said, the light green ovals, a couple turf areas. And then especially down at the lower, larger oval, you'll see what looks like a ladder. That's actually a pergola, a future pergola, and it's over a stone bench. And then around the perimeter are some more sitting areas, benches and such. So that gives you a basic description of it. Next slide, please. And here's some of the people involved, main players. It was designed by Tony Siebenall and Ransom of Studio Zuki and Ben Erickson of BE Landscape Designs. And I'm very proud. We really got excellent communication and collaboration with them as for the design input, and not only at the committee level, but at the membership level. That illustration we saw was one of 4 design concepts. And we actually, at one point of the input, is we had all the membership vote on the concepts. We had the 4 concepts up there, and they voted, put a little sticker on the ones they liked. And that one that was shown was the overwhelming favorite. And then the construction was overseen by the city of Edina and Tony of Studio Zuki. And Tim Zimmerman was our on-site project manager. And there's just a listing of the features on the other side there. Next slide, please. This is an aerial photograph of Arneson Acres Park to show you where the Tranquility Garden is situated. And 70th Street, the 70th Street entrance to the park is the north, but it's on the left side here, but that's north. That's the north side of the park. And so therefore you can see by the yellow circle that's where the Tranquility Garden is. That's towards the south end of the park. And this photograph was taken towards the end of summer 2019, and I can tell because the way it looks, it has the grading, and it has the brick paths, and then it has we put some straw mesh over the bermed areas to help with erosion control over the winter. And there's the other features here of the park. And just to point out 2 things, like I said, 70th Street is the entrance, and there's an upper and a lower parking lot, and there's the greenhouses tucked down there in the lower left. Yes, and Perry is going towards, yes, Mr. Arneson's home up there. That's where the Historical Society is, and also the terrace room is there available for rentals. And then you see down at the bottom, past the greenhouses in the lower parking lot, there's the long grand alley with the gazebo there, and there's the fountain right in the middle. So there's just a basic orientation. Thank you. We'll do the next slide. Okay, so now we'll just go back and look at some of the steps of the history of the construction back in 2016, when the committee was busy trying to figure out what to do this, and this is what we had. This is the memory garden. And remember how that hedge is on the south side? Well, you're just inside the enclosure of that south hedge looking north. And it's really hard to see in this photo, I'm sorry, unfortunately, but towards the top right in the middle, there's the North Arbor Arch right in the middle there. It's blending in with the conifers behind it. But just remember that North Arch to help orient you. But there was some, you can see in the photograph, there's some old shrubs, there's an old cedar bench, things like that. What we're looking at is the peony bed, and they're not showing because it's springtime, early springtime in this photo. But we were so fortunate that the Minnesota Peony Society donated these peonies. There was about 60 of them total or so. And they had been in the garden for about 3 years, and were starting to look really big and beautiful. And then we moved them for this project. But we found a better place for them in the park, in Arneson Acres Park, over towards the southwest corner. And I already mentioned the parts that we preserved, but as far as the hedge and the arches that were there. The most important thing too, I think, is that part of the design process, the Edina Garden Council members, we voted on name ideas and stuff and came up with Tranquility Garden instead of Memory Garden. Memory Garden has connotations of Alzheimer's, and we wanted to widen the concept of the area. Next slide, please. All right, so after all that thinking and planning and getting it passed, we got to build it starting in 2019. And that photograph shows at the end of this first phase of construction, we basically have, I call it the floor. We had the grading and the topsoil, the boulders, the brick paths, and some blue. There's also in there some bluestone crushed path areas for where the benches will go eventually. there's our north arch in the photograph. You can see the north arch there on the left side of the photograph. So we've kind of moved up north, and then we're kind of to the west of the arch. So we're looking basically east in this photograph. And you can kind of see, you know, there's some orange safety fence around the area. And all the way over to the right side, there's a little patch of orange. That is where the new southeast arbor gate opening goes. And you can see there's some of our beautiful boulders and the stakes in the foreground here marking out the small turf area. Next slide, please. And we want to thank the city again for their collaboration. They gave in-kind donations of the boulders. There's first photograph, there's the north arch there. And it was really fun to watch. There's the truck, and they're delivering the boulders that are left over from a city project. And we're very grateful. They're beautiful. They enhance it so much. And then the other photograph, again, is you can see just the edge of that north arch there on the very left upper corner. But that's where the dump truck is right there too, is depositing the topsoil. That was another contribution from the city, which we really appreciated. And then it was just kind of interesting, I think, to show that all the prep work and some of the building up of the berming and stuff going on by English Stone. I forgot to mention English Stone is our contractor. We're very, very happy with them. The owner, Joel, he's a stone mason. So we were really pleased to get somebody with experience stone and also the brick. You know, there's a lot of people out there who say, oh, we can do brick paths, but you know, there's brick paths and there's brick paths, right? So, and this one had a lot of curves into it. So it's good to have somebody do a good job on it. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so this is the next summer of construction. And we're starting to get the trees in and plantings. In fact, we had time and money left at the end of 2019 after that first stage of construction to buy some of the major specimen trees and get them put in. So like I said, first thing we needed to do in 2020 was get the irrigation in for further plantings. And then we also started or continued on some of our main features. And we had the stone bench. That's a 26-foot long stone bench there. And it's beautiful. English Stone did that again. And we got the stone, an in-kind donation from Brookside Condominiums of reclaimed stone. They are building a retaining wall there. So, you know, one of our members lived there, and she kind of got it going for us. And, you know, we talked to them and they were willing to donate it to us. And we just had to transport it. So that was a nice savings in cost. And then we also had in-kind donations from the city for the installing the plants. Tim Zimmerman oversaw the planting. And then also they helped with more erosion control. There was some erosion control tubes put down. And then later after the year, it's not shown in any of these pictures here, unfortunately, but later we had mulch put over all the garden beds to help preserve it over winter. And like I said, you can barely see it, but there's a third metal arch there in the opening for the southeast opening there. And we had more plantings. Okay, now we're just going to have what I call them, you know, the baby pictures. I'll go through them quick, don't worry. Next slide, please. Here's the plantings. We're gardeners, we're into plants, and you're back at the north arch, just within the north arch, past the north arch, looking south at the main berm beds in the center. And we got the foundation plantings, or, you know, like I said, we had the specimen trees put in, and now we're starting to put some of the other conifers and conifer shrubs, and we did some of the other big deciduous shrubs. And we did this late summer, early fall. And we were fortunate that because of this being a city park and working with the city on this, is that we can buy wholesale, so that saves some of our dollars. And then we also wait for the fall sales for our purchases. And so then there we are in that first photograph, and we're going to go counterclockwise around the center bed. So to the right is the north side. And then the second photograph shows that we've walked all the way down the north side and we've gotten to the northwest corner. Now you're looking down the west side of the brick path and you're looking across the berm beds and you can just barely see the southeast entrance there, but you see the long southern hedge there and stuff like that. Okay, next slide. I said I'd keep it brief. All right, these are the last two. And so we walked down the west side and you're here on the southwest corner and then turned around, looked southwest. I just wanted to show there's the third entrance we haven't talked about yet. That's the southwest entrance that already existed. And you can barely see it because it's kind of hidden there, the green and amongst the greenery, but it's there. And then you can kind of see through on the upper right side into the rest of the park. Unfortunately, like I said, there was a lot of old, well, big mature trees on the west side that helped enclose the old memory garden. But a lot of them were the Austrian pines, and there's a virus that is killing those trees, and a lot of them were affected and had to be taken down. So that area is open, and we need to we have plans to put new plantings in there to close it up again. And the last picture, there it is. You've gone around the south side and you're on the east side. And here we are. The pergola for next year, we're going to make that our highest priority. We already have it in our budget. And then other steps as monies allow are listed there. Especially the benches would be nice, those benches around the peripheries and the plantings I talked about on the north and west side. And I just want to say thank you again for giving us this opportunity to the commission to share our vision to you and update you. And we are glad to have this opportunity to gift the community this beautiful garden space. And thank you for your support. All right. Any questions?
Well,
thank
you, Karen. I'll turn it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. I'll turn it back to the commission if they have any questions or comments for you.
I have a question. First of all, thank you for the great work that has been done. Everything looks beautiful. But if the people of the community are listening and they would like to donate towards getting those benches completed, how would they do that?
What they can do is our website, edinagardencouncil.org, and has a page for the Tranquility Garden, and it shows it actually has our brochure on there that people can view, and it shows that design illustration that we kind of went through and the list of features, and then also has the address where they can send their donations. And the addresses for safety concerns, we can't have them go right to Arneson Parks because the mailbox is not secure there. So we instead have them go to Tim Zimmerman's post office box at the Public Works building. But all that information is at edinagardencouncil.org, and we appreciate it greatly. And besides the fundraising, our outside funding. Oh, Liz wants something to say. Oh, Liz, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if you see that. I don't know how big your picture is. This is our, what?
Hold it back towards you.
There we go. All right. One of our members designed this brochure, and we did have some in the park office. We'll have to check and make sure there's some available there. But like Karen said, you can go online and you'll see the same brochure and information about the project.
Okay, thank you. I've admired your work, envied your ability to have a vision like that, and will continue to envy that throughout my life because I have no green thumb whatsoever, but you guys do a great job. Thank you.
Again, great presentation. Very, very informative. I just have couple of comments. How many benches would you anticipate? in the garden?
We would like 3 benches in the garden, and we have a bench design that is different from the ones that are in other places in other parks. There's a nice green bench that's usually put into the parks, but we felt that for our design, we would like to have a different style, so we've kind of noted that to Tom Swenson.
And just
My
to
other
add,
question, go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to add what Liz said about the benches. They are also, though, they're black instead of green and slightly different style, but otherwise, I mean, they're the same durable construction like the park ones are. They're powdered metal. Just want to clarify. Thank you.
Oops. They're by the same company, Do More.
Yeah. Okay.
My other comment or question would be, in a setting like this, what's just a guesstimate on how much time somebody spends in this park? Any?
Well, time spent. That's a good question, you know, because I've never taken a poll. I've regretted it, you know, but to stand there and interview people. But people come there to walk, picnic. A lot of people come there from their office or workplace during the lunch hour. And we have especially seen a huge increase in Arneson Acres Park, and as I'm sure in other parks too, because of the pandemic this year. People are trying to find other places, you know, to visit safely. And the parking lot, the upper and lower, are quite frequently full or almost to capacity full. Arneson does do some, you know, some rentals, but there's the average person. It's hard to say. We get teenagers there who do hammocking, and they'll be there hours. And you know, we got moms with young children there, you know, and they'll be there for, you know, as long as the child's concentration is probably an hour is good. You know, and like I said, people over their lunch hours, people after work, you know, they walk their dogs. Dogs are not allowed in the Grand Allée area, but there's other areas of the park that they can walk their dog on a leash. So I'm sorry not to give you a definitive answer, but I hope I gave you some ideas.
Yes, thank you.
Can I just add to that too, that we have seen meetings being held there.
Oh, yeah.
People bringing their chairs and being in a big circle. Also meeting in the gazebo. And I've seen a couple of people doing plein air painting there also.
It also a good place for yoga. And there's, you know, like I said, there's some auxiliary purposes we haven't thought of. It's a huge photo op place. People, you know, from around the communities come to Arneson Acres to take their wedding photos, graduation photos, you know, family photos, like that. So, and the Tranquility Garden will just further enhance that.
Good, thank you. Any other comments or questions? If not,
Chair, this is Greg. Just want to, again, Karen and Liz, thank you for the presentation, and I'll echo what Eileen already said. Really appreciate not just the vision, but so far excellent execution of the vision, and really nice to see an update of what we saw just as on paper 3 years ago really come to life. So, and I especially like the fact that you've taken the memory gardens and upgraded it now to the Tranquility Garden. And I think that's just a great idea to continue to improve the park in such a fashion. So thanks for your passion and work. It's appreciated.
Thank you for being on the commission also.
if there is none other ones, we'll thank you again to both of you for the presentation.
Thank you,
at this
Chair.
point-
Maybe I know Mr. Swenson might have a few comments, and then I'll close out this item for us.
Yeah, I just want to continue on the Karen and Liz bandwagon. Their vision and their dedication to this project really helped staff push also to try to get these items done for them, just because they're so enthusiastic. And I appreciate their flexibility, and their efforts on the fundraising has just been amazing, and they're fun to work with. So thanks, guys.
And just some final comments for me again. Obviously, a thank you to Karen and Liz and Betty and the entire Garden Council for all that they do. It's not often that you get a donation of a value of $85,000 to the park system, but we're also getting the people that are doing the work and the vision and the execution. So that is extremely rare and extremely valuable. In my short time, they've been fantastic to work with, and I think it's been great to really kind of have our last meeting with them on site. We were able to take a tour and just kind of really ensure that we're philosophically in the same place about how we see use at the site, what we view it as, how it'll be used by the public, how their vision can complement just the rest of the park and the park system as well. So it's been great to get to know them, and I just wanted to thank them again and the entire council for all their hard work. And that's all we share on that.
Thanks, Perry.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Moving to item 5B. I'll let you say an opening comment, Perry, if you'd like. And
yeah, thank you, Chair. Obviously, we just want to have your work plan on your agenda monthly, just to ensure if there are any updates that we can provide on this document and keep that in front of you, or staff support on moving any of the initiatives forward. Obviously, this is your 2020 plan. Chairitis will talk about the 2021 plan coming up on the next item. But just to kind of go through, I can kind of just kick off each initiative and kind of give a status update of actually what staff knows about them. And then if any of the leads wanted to provide any comments on that. Just the first one was working on the flood reduction strategy and climate action plan. Obviously, that one was complicated. The city's environmental resources coordinator, that position did turn over, so that position has been hired. So I know the climate action plan is high on their list to get done, so that will come to the Parks Commission for review, and as well as the flood reduction task force. So we're hoping to have Jessica Wilson, the city's water resources engineer, give a presentation to the Parks Commission, hopefully at an upcoming meeting here yet this year, to give an update on kind of her work as how the flood reduction task force is going, and specifically around some of the major projects that they're studying within the city. So I know that one is, so for Commissioner McCauley, Loss, actually Zoe's not on the commission anymore, she was the student member, but Nelson and Doskich, you were kind of lucky, you were in that waiting mode. You don't have to do anything on this one. When it is available, staff will bring it to you. So you're lucky on that one. The second one is Initiative 2. That's another one we have changed. You'll see that definitely in the 21 plan, and we'll work on that. We're switching that one where staff between Parks and Recreation and the Race and Equity Coordinator will develop that framework for a strategy to help identify barriers by members of the community of color, and we'll bring that to the subgroup for review and comment. So again, on that one, you're off the hook for now because we're changing that to more of a staff-led initiative with a review and comment by commissioners. I don't see, starting with item Initiative 3, I don't see that Commissioner Nelson made the call, but I'm not aware of any progress that I can provide on Initiative 3 on whether that one's needed, but I will touch base with Commissioner Nelson if she has any updates to include in this one. And then Initiative 4, give a brief update on that. That initiative group, I believe there are several members on the call tonight that have met, have talked about a draft strategy. We'll maybe talk a little bit more about when we get to the CAP. But that has gone to the EEC, the Environmental and Energy Commission, for feedback. They've provided that to Commissioner Nelson. And today we did receive some feedback from the Human Rights and Relations Commission. That was one where you developed a draft strategy and then provide that to those two commissions for feedback. So the feedback is in, and I'll work with Commissioner Nelson to see if that group needs to come back together or how that should come before the full board. I don't know if any other commissioners had any comment on that, if they've discussed or met in the interim, but please feel free to interrupt if you have. Initiatives 5 and 6, I think we've talked about those. That was the pursuit of additional funding opportunities. As noted, staff did pursue the local option sales tax at the state legislature. That while we had successful hearings, did not result in any successful process due to just how the session resulted due to the pandemic. There are a few additional grant opportunities that are out there that we've looked at, some through Hennepin County, some environmental stewardship processes. A lot of those, however, do require matching funds. So that's something to keep in mind as we move forward and how we could leverage dollars. As you'll notice when we get to the draft for the CAP, leveraging dollars and partnerships is within that. So I don't know if any other members had any updates to that. Otherwise, Initiative 7, I do know that group has been meeting and is putting together some data around 15% and what that means as far as leading to benchmarking, which is on your 21 plan. So that's a quick rundown of what you've accomplished. I'm not sure if any others had any updates we can provide within that. If so, please let me know. If not, that's something for a later time that we can discuss those. So that's all I had on that, Chair, unless there's other member comments.
Item 5D, C, 2021 work plan feedback. I can tell a little bit, the presentation was last Wednesday. We had about 7 minutes allotted to each chairperson. Basically, I'll just go through a little bit of what I talked about besides the individual initiatives. I started off, and I was first up, thanks to Perry. We didn't know if time was going to be squeezed at the end, so I wanted to make sure we got our initiatives in front of the council. I asked, my opening statement was just, what is Edina? And I said, to reflect on that, it's a changing community with changing needs. Then I revisited our vision and mission statements about having premier parks, recreation trail system, and again, to maximize our quality of life. Our mission is to foster healthy, inclusive community, environmental sustainable practices, and responsible use of available resources. Talked a little bit about our guiding principles, promote community health and wellness, excellent innovation and services and facilities that we have, equity engagement, and strong financial stewardship. Talked about the initiative number 1. I looked, said again that it was a plan developed by Park and Rec along with the Race and Equity Task Force to identify the barriers for participation, reach communities of color. Emphasize that the prior city council has felt that this project or work is very important. Talked about initiative 2 to proactively connect with neighborhood groups, athletic groups, underserved members of the community. There's a strong relationship or correlation to our initiative 1. What has happened in our parks or enterprises since March, how we responded, how we reacted, and what needs to be changed. Our goal under this initiative is to have a well-educated community. We've done a little bit of this. I mentioned earlier this year that I had an opportunity to speak at 7500 York. to the residents there, and Perry has a chance to have a meeting with the Dina Realty Group. Initiative 3, I believe, is very important. Alternative funding. What types of needs almost equates to what are the amenities, facilities, and upgrades that we feel necessary. Again, what have we learned the last 6 months in funding? Is this going to be a new normal for our enterprises? How will we respond? I looked at this initiative as defining the types of needs, and those needs equate to the mechanisms that we need to evaluate. Those would certainly include philanthropics, sponsorships, perhaps friends of parks, more community engagement. This initiative almost is what we can define as a menu, and then that would equate to what we can order to satisfy this initiative. Initiative 4 then was to identify underutilized amenities or areas. What are the individual, neighborhood needs? This was a carryover, certain from the strategic plan that was done. The questions are, who do we serve, and has this been effective? Initiative 5 was to use the benchmarks to assess progress against our strategic objectives, to evaluate the measurement effectiveness. And my closing was I had taken a look at the city council candidate profiles, and then I quoted from those profiles: our beautiful parks, excellent parks, great parks, safe neighborhoods with parks, walking, running trails, and green space. And my closing statement was meaning these candidates' consensus, is our challenge to achieve both our vision and mission through our 5 initiatives. And the Q&A was brief. They were under some time constraints, certainly, with all the presentations. I had the mayor ask one question. He said, has there been discussion, or will there be, about a potential referendum? And that was the only question that was raised from the 5 council people. My response to him and the council people was yes. It has been that item brought up. So if anybody has any questions about that 7-minute period.
I don't have a question, but I just have a comment on a potential referendum. I would support that for the parks, because we have so many parks that have a need for their playground equipment being replaced, some buildings being replaced, just some upgrades to keep our parks servicing our community to a level that we have expectations of, which unfortunately is not being done right now. So I would support that, and I hope the community would support that. And I think we could put together a great plan for why it's necessary and why people should support it.
Any other comments?
Nope, just it sounds like you gave a nice recap and presentation of what we wanted to work on, Rick, so appreciate that.
Well, I kind of went not off grid, but as I listened to the rest of them, was verbatim reading of the initiatives. And I just felt that, given the opportunity for a few minutes just to go back and just talk about, the parks and the mission, vision, and things that we talk about amongst ourselves, and certainly in a group such as this. And I think it was well received. But thank you for the comment. Any others? I did have one other item under this. Last month, we designated or asked to be on initiatives as individuals. I did not do that yet, so I'm going to be put on 2, 3, and 4 as a member. We have to be careful that we only can have 4 voting commissioners. So that that will put me on numbers 2, 3, and 4. Now, I believe Will has been asked, or he is asked to be on number 2. We need to hear from Nick and Jack, I think, as to their desires to be placed on one of these initiatives. And any other person that would like to be on more than what they originally had thought of. But I'd like to see what Nick and Jack would like to do.
And Chair, before we begin on that, I just wanted to point out we can have 4 full-time voting commissioners on each initiative. We can go above that number, obviously, with student commissioners. I'd also like to note that we would need at least 2 commissioners on each item, which I believe we have 2 for all but initiative 5. And that could be because we kind of wordsmithed number 5 during the meeting. So just a reminder, we would need to add, be nice to add an additional commissioner to number 5. If there are other spots we wanted to do, up to 4 for voting commissioners, and then the students, if they would like to go next, on which items they would like to join in on those initiative plans.
I had on my list that Matt and Greg were on there on initiative 5. Maybe not. Maybe Matt and Greg can reply. I had them on my list, but
I'm a yes.
Yeah, I continue to
okay.
work with Greg on this.
Yeah, thanks, Greg and Matt. So we do have 2 there on 5, Director, but we still need the 2 students need to reply.
The director should take better notes.
I can go on initiative 5 if that works for you guys.
I believe it was that Commissioner Mork that spoke.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm not too particular. I could go on commission or number 5 too, if that works.
Sounds like a team.
Did you note that, Director? That's
even better than last month. I noted it.
Okay.
You can add Miller to initiative 1.
I have you on that. I have you already.
There you do. Not on the. I don't see it on here.
Sign him up for double duty.
Yeah, you get a double dose.
Mike and Miller.
You noted that, Harry. I had him on mine, but that's okay.
We'll ensure we get that updated for you.
Okay, yeah. Any other comments, Director? Or I think we are okay.
Yeah, if you're ready to move on, we'll do a quick update here on the capital improvement program. It actually ties in nicely with some of the discussion you've had this evening, not only on your work plans, noticing improvements to Arneson Acres Park, but also a little bit about the priority scale, and I'll touch on that in a second. So I will share my screen here quick. I've just got a handful of slides to go over for you all. So we'll go through that, and just wanted to give you just a quick update on the stance of the capital improvement plan. I wanted to thank Assistant Director Peterson. She has been our staff representative on the CIP process. So she knows all the details on this with her long tenure here at the City of Edina, along with myself. So we kind of joked we got the 2 new people working on it. So thank you for her. So just a reminder, the CIP is a policy document for guiding projects. It will be introduced to the City Council in October. That will be the first view on all of the requests from all departments within the city, from Parks and Recreation through Information Technology, Police, Fire, Public Works, Engineering, you name it. Everyone will be submitting their projects. Council will take a first glance at that later in October. This evening we'll kind of show you the staff recommended projects for Parks and Recreation. Just wanted to kind of confirm with you, a lot of what we submitted really aligns well with your draft prioritization initiative. So it's good to kind of be on the same page there. Eventually in December, the council will be taking action on this. And again, as a reminder, just because something's in the capital improvement program, it doesn't guarantee that it will happen. It means that it's a project. It will only go forward if it's enacted upon by approval of the City Council, because of kind of those spending thresholds, as you would say. So just a quick reminder, when we do this, we look at all of our 43 parks, all 1,500 acres, all of our facilities are on there. What are the needs of our associations? We've obviously got the 26 indoor and outdoor, all of our tennis courts, playgrounds, and the indoor park at Edinburgh. So when you kind of look at all of that aspect and how does that translate to need, then it's obviously, as we talked about before, you saw some CIP presentations by the city manager about a year ago. How do we prioritize? And this is just a quick look at your draft initiative. This is kind of that work to date. You talked about things such as safety. How does that get prioritized? Accessibility, not just meeting accessibility, but going beyond. Protecting our assets, our existing assets. How do we ensure that we don't let them go too far before replacing them because it costs more? One of your upcoming initiatives is looking at enhancing underutilized areas. So what will that mean from a prioritization standpoint? I mentioned leveraging partnership. A good example tonight was a leveraged partnership between the city and the Edina Garden Council. It was interesting for bookkeeping and record keeping purposes. We did track those in-kind contributions from the city to the project. It's hard to think of that knowing that that's on our park, right? So we're giving an in-kind contribution to ourselves. So without doing some of these partnerships, it really goes in. Costs and expenses. Really, how grand of a project is it? Feedback from the other 2 commissions on race and equity and sustainability. So that'll all kind of mold into some of your prioritization. So we look at that prioritization and we look at kind of what types of needs we have and that we're proposing. For the enterprise investments, a lot of that, as we kind of talked about, due to financial stress, some of the fiscal first aid we had taken due to the pandemic is really largely around repair projects and capital maintenance equipment. So those are all primarily funded by the enterprises themselves. So when you think of what we're kind of looking at investing in, they're not the super exciting things, right? It's a voice evacuation system for fire code at the arena. It is the mowers needed at the golf course. It's the blower units for the golf dome. It's those types of repair projects and capital maintenance equipment that is kind of on that enterprise side. Again, largely funded by the enterprises themselves. The next phase of that is kind of the park investments, right? These are the ones that you're just kind of talking about. What are the needs? How do they fund themselves? Obviously, right now, these are general fund property tax levy expenditures. We would definitely look at how we can make that dollar go further through grant applications or other types of ways to leverage those dollars. Those are primarily repair projects, again, capital maintenance equipment, and looking forward for this year, hopefully some renovation projects. Over the next 5.5 years or 6 years, This is how the percentage breaks down of what our requests are being projected at. So don't think of this as maybe a dollar value. This is of all of our submissions, where we think they're going to be funded or unfunded. For 2021, of all that we're submitting, about 4% are going to be funded. 46% unfunded, 50% are unfunded master plans. I wanted to isolate them separately for your review because I'm going to touch on master plans in a second. Obviously, the Braemar master plan and the Fred Richards master plan make up a vast, large dollar amount of the CIP for parks. So I wanted to call that out a little bit separately as you approach some of your initiative work later. However, 46% still unfunded across the park and recreation system. 4% will be funded. That dollar does come up if, for those of you that were on the commission, remembering the city manager's presentation about how the projection of existing levies might be into future years and how that shapes up. So again, I always try to warn folks that 24, 25, 26 years, a lot can change within that. So less focus maybe on the last three, more focus on the first two as for kind of how we see things that could shape out. So just a precaution on looking at percentages based on years. It's just one way to look at it. As we head into the next three, however, these are the projects that we anticipate to be funded. Again, about $1.2 million equipment and repair. Good news is almost $750,000 on the park side of things. So if things go well, based on our prioritization and push, we'll have some projects to implement over the next year. 22, about $500,000 on the general fund side. 23, about $640,000. Again, the enterprise is about $730,000 2 years from now, and a little bit less in 23. What staff's going to do is we'll continue to work on CIP in the off years to really kind of reconcile that. What we want to do is one goal of ours would be to eliminate that bounce, right? More predictable year. How do we phase in some of our asset replacements so we don't see such a large bounce in our needs? So what could we be looking at for next year? There's one item in there that's going to be in every year, and that's our proposal for a general park asset equipment replacement. This is that property in the open that might not rise to a large scale replacement, but it's things that we need to replace every year, going out for several years within the park system. This is those tennis courts, hard courts, ensuring that several years from now, the pickleball courts will have dollars that go through. Benches, tables, gazebo work, all of that kind of property in the open that we've never really had on a list before. The second one, I want to draw attention to this because I had just kind of talked about unfunded master plans. And those are really large pieces. Had some initial discussions. Strachauer Park is due for a playground equipment replacement and a building replacement. I've had some informational conversations with representatives of the neighborhood association on what their needs are, how that park works for them. Because of that level investment, it's prudent for us to do a quick plan of that neighborhood. And of these dollars, we could use some of that to do some short-term improvements for them, whatever that may be. So what we don't view in this one, or I personally don't, is that a master plan that sits on the shelf looking for funding. We need to do some immediate things there. We need to do some strategic things there. And because of that dollar investment, it's wise to do some planning and then see what we can implement out of that in the first year. The next one up, parks maintenance equipment replacement. You're going to see that going out a number of years as well. That is that rolling stock of equipment that's needed spring, summer, fall, and winter. Those are vehicles, mowers, aerators, all the stuff that we need to maintain our park system. That is also coming out of this area. The good news is we've had two well-needed playground equipment replacement projects that had been unfunded in future years that we're looking to funding for the next year. Lewis Park and Wooddale Park. They are our two oldest. They are still compliant as far as a safety and accessibility thing because they've been grandfathered in. However, these two projects would do a world of improvement for those sites. Just from an the ability to go to a park and kind of leverage those assets. So Lewis Park and Wooddale Park are kind of those two in our plan. Kind of that next one up, we feel very grateful that those can be funded heading into the next year. So again, kind of a 3-year look. That property in the open for a couple of years to really catch up on a lot of our amenities, to kind of do some improvements so that people see that. As we learned in the pandemic, a lot of people have been out using a lot of our different things. Tennis was popular. Property in the open, very busy. All of our buildings, some of the rentals, all that, it's kind of taken its toll. We need to kind of bring that back up. We talked about Strachauer Park, that park maintenance, equipment replacement, it's kind of going to be an ongoing piece. Lewis and Wooddale of next year. 2022, we also feel confident that next piece of the playground equipment based up is Fox Meadow, and some irrigation improvements at Van Valkenburg. Obviously, one of our very busy sports complexes in the city. We've got to keep water on that turf to keep up that carrying capacity for those sports. And then in 23, obviously Todd Park and Walnut Ridge, again, chipping away at some of those projects. Again, general fund expenditures, these were all kind of in our priority before, but unfunded, looking to kind of increase that, that capacity there. So I'm just going to jump back at a few. So kind of those listings, really looking at how safety and accessibility, when we look at those playgrounds and property open, protecting those assets, leveraging partnerships, looking at, a Strachauer with how can we make this dollar go further, and then kind of that cost and expense. When we look at our rolling stock of equipment, that has a certain time frame of use. We want to be able to replace that before it really puts a drag on our operating budgets on repairs, right? Same thing with some of those playground equipments. Replacing slide decks, replacing old towers, replacing bridges. We're doing that on very old playground equipment just to keep it up. So a lot of this is because it's been beyond its useful life cycle, getting it out of the system, getting new in, and then phasing in that new should help some of our operating costs as well. So just kind of wanted to give you that quick update of what we kind of see, where we're headed, how it, the draft prioritization lines up well with it. Obviously, we look at those percentages, 4% of funded projects versus the remainder. Still a lot of work to do. So I think the discussions around alternate funding, connecting to the community, hearing from them about where we're headed, what we need to do is still very crucial, and will be beneficial as you approach alternate funding to try to put a dent in some of those green numbers going forward. So just a quick update, a lot of information here. I will provide you commissioners to this, and we'll attach it to the packet as well. So I'll email that out to you so you kind of have a reference for this. But with that, we'll know more as the months go on here. If we get the draft prioritization laid down, make sure that aligns, especially as we look at those outer years. So with that, Chair and Commission, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer those.
I have a couple. The playgrounds, are those similar to what was done at Fred, or are they a little bit more? Aren't the dollars here a little bit higher than what we spent there?
They are. Fred was a new build, and that's Fred Richards Park. That was a new build, so that was about a $350,000 project, I believe, in total. So you're thinking there, it's new access, new container, had a picnic shelter, gathering space, and then equipment. Kind of looking at this with Assistant Director Swenson too, a lot of those depend on kind of the park size and maybe that attraction level. So some are going to be a little bit higher, some are going to be a little bit less. At something like a Lewis, that 205,000, we will have to probably do a new container, ensure elevations are there, and then obviously a new surface. I should comment too, some of those kind of property in the opens will also help us chip away at getting rid of some of the pea gravel at some sites and getting more accessible safety surfacing in, rather than just kind of letting that go and be grandfathered in. So really trying to look at how we can kind of leverage a bunch of different projects within this CIP. But for Lewis and Wooddale, it would be to try to have a little bit bigger experience than some of the other ones, just due to the park size and the draw from the neighborhoods.
Thank you. My other question, if on the equipment side, if an enterprise, and I think of the golf course, if they have another year perhaps, hopefully like they did this year, are they able to, if they're sustainable themselves, are they able to do some of their own equipment purchasing?
Yeah, and just to maybe backtrack on that, the expectation is that all the enterprises are buying their own maintenance equipment out of that. So the golf course will be buying their own mowers and leaf vacs, aerators, etc., as well as, say, the arena is buying its own Zamboni. So the expectation within that is, while we call them capital pieces, they are buying that out of that revenue. So it helps. The more sustainable they are, the better of that bottom line we can rebuild after this year. I will note that those enterprises are still supported by Edina Liquor Fund transfers. So a lot of that profit that's poured back in, that primary piece is back to enterprises. So for this year, we're kind of looking at where those revenue transfers go back in. But that expectation is that the enterprises do cover those operating pieces of equipment.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Chair, I've got a couple comments. Perry, first of all, thanks for the quick overview and getting a picture of where things stand. Looking at this slide number 5, I have to say, quite frankly, it's both depressing and maddening. That in 2021, we're looking at 4% of our overall that we have out in front of there is likely to get funded. And even if we take out the blue bar, it's only 8%, right? And the blue bars, I think of the future here out to 2023, at least, that you were kind of putting in a little bit more detail before. It sounds like we're not even touching the blue bar out through 2023. So having picked up on Chair Idis's nice framing of his presentation of priorities to the City Council and talking about our priorities and the importance of parks, I've heard it said from a personal perspective that if you want to know where your priorities are, look at your calendar and look at your checkbook. If we apply the same thing to the City of Edina, our checkbook is not showing that our parks are a priority. And I think we need to find a way to continue to verbalize that. Second, I think you said $60,000 for Strachauer. And the question I just have, is that for the master plan or is that to do some prioritization? Because again, going back to the blue bar, my strong recommendation would be, or question would be, why are we doing a Strachauer master plan? And I know we say we're not going to put it on a shelf, but don't spend any money for that. If we can instead quickly with the neighborhood identify some priorities, let's just go out and spend the money and not pretend that we're putting together another master plan that we seem to have a record of. They do end up on the digital shelf. And lastly, I just think this speaks to our initiative number 3 for next year. The one we had again this year, we've got to push hard on alternative funding because we are not getting it from what the city's carving out. And if it means a referendum, that's not a popular phrase, but maybe that's a direction we have to go as well. But I think as a commission, we've got to take a hard look at what other ways we can provide funding to this before we go back and ask our friends of Edina to pay for some more. So I appreciate the quick view of it, but overall to me, the message is pretty disappointing.
Hey, Perry, it's Eileen. I just have a question on, and I don't know if you can answer it tonight, but it's my understanding that a major part of the city budget is human resources. So we're talking about staff, healthcare costs, human resource costs, as it is with the state and every other government agency, school district, whatever. So I'd like to be a little careful when we talk about priorities because it seems to infer that we're putting priorities on the money being spent elsewhere when the bulk of the budget is in one area. And let's face it, in Edina, we like services. That's why people move here, services in the schools. So that's why I support going forward with a referendum, because that's an investment in our city. And that's what we, in my opinion, need to start asking our citizens to do. Do we want to invest in our parks? And, it sounds nice to say, well, your property taxes are going down. But if, our infrastructure is suffering, we need to pay for that. I mean, it doesn't come, it's not manna from heaven. We have to pay for our infrastructure as citizens. And I would rather, as a citizen, vote directly on, a referendum where I know where the money's going. So I just would like to know if we can get that number as to what it is that we're spending. People should look at the city budget, because we're not setting priorities that are inconsistent with investing in the community. The priorities are based on the cost of things, and where the money in the budget is going to is based on what things cost. So that's two different things. So I would encourage citizens to look at that, and I would like that information going forward. Thank you.
Chair, maybe I'll jump back and I'll answer Commissioner Good's question on the master planning. I wish there was a different word for master planning, and maybe it's more concept planning, like you said, prioritization. Strachauer is due for a new playground equipment and a new building. The neighborhood association would like a new building. They don't really geographically have anything that supports them. At the same time, there's some information that we've talked about with them. A lot of their amenities they feel are a struggle for them to use. And I'll give you a quick example. I think I've shared it with a few. Is on Saturdays, I believe it's one university alumni basketball game starts in the morning and goes till mid-afternoon. On Sunday, the same thing happens with a different university, because they have this beautiful full court there. So on Saturdays and Sundays, the basketball court during the day is pretty much dominated by university alumni that comes to play. Same thing with the warming house structure. It's old, it's dated. The rink numbers there are also declining. Now, is that because of skating? Is it because the proximity of the rink to Crosstown? Is it because Arden came back online? Same thing with their playground, right? That's dated as well. So I think before we want to make some decisions on some of these big investments in that park, we need to kind of look at, is this the right concept, or, as you indicated, priority plan move? I wouldn't anticipate this is like an Arden Park level master plan where you're talking, millions of dollars into that. But it's more about, if we're going to invest, do we do it in the same exact spot, or are we going to move some amenities around? So maybe master plan's a little strong, but it's kind of more of that concept. If we can get that done, we can use some of those dollars to reinvest in the short term. Neighborhood Association had indicated they would be willing to write a variety of different grants to try to get some short-term improvements in there. Again, we could kind of use this as leveraging matching dollars as well to support those efforts, try to make that dollar go further. So I think that's why I wanted to draw out about, the unfunded master plans. And then again, saying, in this sense, before we invest, I think we need to do some strategizing around how we're going to do those improvements in that site. So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, no, I understand that, Harry, and I guess I still would lean towards saying, I'd struggle advising that we spend money to plan something around a building that we know we're not going to touch for a while because we don't have the money to touch it, as opposed to say, if we could work with the neighbors in the community, very cost effectively prioritize what to work on. Let's spend most of that $60,000 to actually give them something that upgrades that park, rather than a plan that we will love to try to fund, but it is not happening. That's my only point. But I completely agree. It's a park that should be on our list, and we should be working with them to see what we can do with the limited amount of breathing space that we've got in our funds.
And then to answer Commissioner Eileen McCauley's question on the budget, we can. It'll probably take me a little while, but I can email that data out to the commission on some type of a breakdown on the city's budget. Anecdotally, I would confirm the city's largest expense is its employees. And it's for those reasons that you indicated. The city is primarily in that service industry, right? So it's police, fire, snow plowing, et cetera. That's going to make up a large amount of that. Mowing our parks, programming our parks, et cetera, on our side of things. So anecdotally, yes, the city personnel is going to make up the vast majority of those expenses.
I just want to add one thing to that, Perry, that it's not just city personnel, it's the services they provide. And they provide great services to the city. So it's not just the cost of human resources, it's the jobs they're doing. And again, they do a great job.
Well, thank you. Was that a PSA for be nice to the election judges this month? The Commissioner's brother nodding. She knows it. So.
I fully support that statement. Yes.
Any other questions for the director?
And it's just echoing what everyone said. I mean, I think we all kind of, it's in our name of the commission, Parks and Recreation, and to see all of these parks and to kind of hear this, kind of, I guess, dour outlook at what can potentially be it, and I'm sure we all hear things, and certainly there are hot button items that come up as things arise, say the Arden stuff or those types of things. But consistently, the thing that most people talk about is the status and the nature of the parks that we have. And certainly everyone loves the new ones that we have at Arden or at Fred Richards or some of the other ones that are relatively newer, Countryside and those types of places. The ones that are on the list are certainly ones that are way past due. And it's an unfortunate message that not as much us as commissioners, but the Parks and Rec department has to deliver that news or explain that news of why from a funding perspective we just don't seem to have the funds. And so I would encourage when we're looking at things like funding sources and those types of things, that this is kind of the root or the kind of the North Star of what we're doing, which is, thinking about how can we start to fund parks in general and the upkeep of the parks. To me, that's really kind of, that is the base level of what we are as a community when we say Parks and Recreation is the status of our parks.
Thank you, Commissioner Darlene. I think as part of this, especially with Assistant Director Peterson online, I think the one thing that if we can do throughout this is provide you maybe different views of this information, right? So I don't know if you've seen a view about how things are a percentage of unfunded or what project lists are. That CIP document comes in it's about 1.5 inch thick binder, and what we've kind of talked about is how can we tell our story better. And I think the capital needs that you see on the screen, how to remedy that really lines up with some of your initiatives, connecting with the community, hearing from them, engaging with them, as well as your other initiative on alternate funding about, it's not just about providing that menu, it's about providing what could go on that menu as well. So it's not just the sources or alternative options, but of all these needs, and we can explore that, what kind of fits into those categories to really help paint a good picture of this isn't just a one strategy solution here. It's going to take a variety. It's going to take some creativity. It's going to take some prioritization and hard work. But I think if we can help paint you a different picture, so as you do your work, it assists us with our work. I think we can hopefully move some things forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have had experience and understand that as priorities shift and priorities change, that there's a reason, some things get moved down the list. It's just really hard as this commission sits together to know that quite often things, you know, we could probably sit here, all of us, and come up with a laundry list of things that we've seen over the last 5-10 years that have come at the B, and in our opinion, or at least I don't want to speak for the entire commission, but my opinion is that have come at the you know, cost to fixing the parks, be it a liquor store remodel, be it you know any of those things. And so you know, again, we're all on this commission because we're passionate about the parks, and so this is not you know, like I said, at the root of what we do. This is unfortunate news.
Any other comments for the director, or? In hearing none, we'll go to item 6.
Hey, Rick,
Sure.
Greg, sorry, just
Sorry.
to jump in. One last point, because I know that the work that the director and the team does to pull all this together is a lot, and it's a lot of detail. And as Perry said, it's a half-thick document that comes out of it. And I'm sure, and speaking for Perry and the team, I'm sure that they would like to see a larger percentage of funding go to our priority projects as well. So understanding that we're all in the same boat together on that, just wanted to voice a note of appreciation for the work that I'm sure the team does in pulling all this together and getting it out in front where we can all sit back and say, oh my gosh, I'm unsatisfied with this, but at least it's out there, it's in front of us, we work at it. So thanks for doing that, Perry, and the rest of your team.
Thank you, commissioners, and thank you to Assistant Director Peterson. She's been pushing that rope uphill for us. So.
Yep.
Thank you, Greg. Anybody else? If not, we can go to chair and member comments, please.
I just want to have a comment regarding Arden Park. I drove by there today, and the grass has been planted and is growing in, and the place looked great. A lot of the plantings are coming in, but certainly the grass being planted has added another dimension to the park. Continue to hear nothing but accolades from people about how great the park is now. Neighbors really enjoying it, even neighbors from several blocks away that are using the park extensively. And I used to live like half a block from there, and there were never a lot of people down there as there are now. So congratulations to the Parks Department on a really successful project. We had some hiccups, but in the end, the place looks great. People are using it like crazy and really enjoying it. So thanks to the Parks Department for that.
Yeah, I've got a couple, Rick. First of all, I was pleased to see the renaming of Garden Park in recognition of the Yancey family. I know that was a work item that we had in coordination with others last year, so it's nice to see that get resolved with a recommendation that got accepted and things moving forward. So again, thanks to all, both on our commission and others in the city that's helped get that accomplished. Second, a note just for maybe for the 2021 season, the spring will come around eventually. I and my wife and others are big pickleball players and have been seeing and happy to see how well utilized our courts are, as well as others in other communities that we've also drifted over to. And I have noticed that I think we still could use a little bit more revision of our, what I'll call our pickleball overflow issues. One example would be, I know we put some racket holders up to try to monitor and oversee the flow of people that might be waiting, but the holders are on the tennis court screen, and that is a little bit confusing. So I think we ought to look at putting those out on the pickleball court screens and not the tennis court screens, and maybe even think about where are people congregating. The few times I've been there, they seem to be congregating on the hillside, waiting for court to open up, not over in the corner where the bench is. So people drive up, park, and sit, and they don't even see the fact that we're trying to monitor the level of play and people who are waiting. So I think we could also be more directive with some signage on expectations, because the tendency, as I've been there, is for players to still kind of hold the court until they're done playing. And as that continues to grow, we're just going to need to do a better job of trying to support the community to make that change and police it itself. So just one note on those pickleball courts. And I know we just covered some discussion on CIP and priorities, but I also just wanted to voice some of the things that I continue to hear in the community as I'm out and about, things that people ask about. One is, to my last topic, more pickleball options. The second is to take action on mountain bike paths that I know we have in our Braemar master plan, but haven't been able to touch. There was some good recognition of the Edina High School's mountain bike team and the success that they're having, and so that flows over to the rest of the community. And the third that I've heard, especially as winter is coming up, is people that are getting out and playing some more platform tennis, or would like to play some more platform tennis. At the moment, it's really only an item at private country clubs. And so the question of having a couple public platform tennis courts for winter in the future of Edina, which I know we had 20 or 25 years ago, has come up a few times as well. So just wanted to pass those along.
Thank you, Greg. I have just one comment. As fall begins, summer ends. As everybody knows, I'm a golfer, having done it 60 times at our golf course this year. I just want to commend Perry and all the GMs of all of our enterprises. I think, and we look back to March 15th, and I can remember when the dome closed, and losing $10,000 a day for 50 days didn't seem very attractive at that point. To, I think this week, I heard from the GM at the golf course, the expectation is 70,000 rounds of golf will be played at the golf course, and over $1 million on the one driving range. So I want to thank Perry because of, I think, the hard decisions that were made certainly in March and April about keeping things open, safety, and making hard decisions about some things that certainly our community, needs, gotten used to, and we're not able to do as much of. But I just wanted to thank all the park people, all the staff there that, for I think what's become a much more successful summer in total than what we ever thought of in early April. So that's my comment for the night.
And I will thank you for that, Chair Itis, but I did want to recognize Assistant Director Peterson. She oversees all those enterprise divisions and the program managers. Talk about creativity and dedication this summer, from literally shutting down to the safety protocols to reimagining programs to getting things back up and running. That's one area where her and the team just completely excelled. And also to share that with Tom Swenson, the Assistant Director of the Park side, doing the maintenance of this year on a limited seasonal aspect, limited budget. If you remember from June, we did cut a lot of dollars. That was a lot of the general fund expenses this year on operating. We didn't know how busy we would be. So making those cuts kind of was a little bit exponential on there. But thank you for those comments. But special thanks to Assistant Director Swenson, Assistant Director Peterson, and their teams for that aspect. Not me. I get to make the easy decisions after they make recommendations. So it's good to have a good team.
Yeah, I apologize. I should mention those two by name also. Thank you for reminding me. Any other comments while we're on this?
I would just like to ditto what both you and Perry said. The staff out there was just tremendous all summer long, even the young people that were working and cleaning the carts. I mean, everybody just did a fantastic job and really helped generate a lot of revenue for our enterprises and for the Parks Department, where we thought we were going to lose. And we still are probably losing some money, but they really made a difference. And it was an enjoyable experience and just a great facility to have available when we all needed to be outside. So kudos to everybody up and down the line.
Thank you. I don't know very much about hockey, but I know the success of the youth program from living here for 45 years. Just one more small comment about the golf course. The head pro, Jay Meyerhoff, I talked to him the other day. His goal, and probably achievable next year in the youth program for golfing, would be to have 2,000 participants, which Perry can correct me, but I think would probably be the largest in the United States in terms of youth golf. So it's, this is, all the staff, director, assistant directors, and just all the staff, in spite of some of these financial things that we've looked at tonight, this is an awesome place to live. These amenities of our recreational. And, I think we have certainly what I said last Wednesday to the city council, those comments by the candidates for council, there is uniformity about using the word park in there. And I can only inform them, whoever wins, those words are going to be a foretaste of the challenge that we're going to put in front of them to make our park certainly better. And I think that's the challenge in front of us, is to develop that menu and to make what we have here better than what we have today. And that's the last comment I'll make. Hearing no other commissioner comments, we can go to item 7, staff comment, please.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioners, just a couple of quick updates in your packet on council actions that occurred. We really took up a lot of the October 7th meeting. We actually missed one item. We had a Max Galaxy agreement. We'll reconcile that on your next packet. We'll go back on that. But just a couple of quick highlights. As we head into the year, as you mentioned, transitioning from summer to fall, fall to winter. A couple of things to note. We did come to an agreement with a firm called Itasca Marketing. That's for live streaming services at Braemar Arena. So Itasca Marketing will have to go out and secure agreements with all of the organizations or users of Braemar Arena. If they do come to that agreement and people don't want to come into the arena, but they still want to stay connected to games, skating shows, etc., they'll be able to buy various levels of subscription, and those will be live streamed for them. So General Manager Chad Ishins have been working on that for a while. Very timely due to the pandemic. If there are occupancy restrictions, people aren't comfortable coming in, we'll have an option for them. So that's one really big highlight. Another piece of that is Chad himself, General Manager during the pandemic, went back, got his public sector supervisor certificate in the LEAD Academy. That's through the League of Minnesota Cities, so we're very proud of him. Not only having those challenges of managing the unknown, but to go back and do some personal growth. The other piece of it is, for those of you that don't know, there's going to be a cell phone tower replacement. And excuse me if I get the terminology wrong, but at Highlands Park, there's a current cell phone tower within the park system. That'll be co-located with another provider in the area for additional coverage. Because that pole is going to be coming down, we're looking at that as an opportune time to replace that hockey lighting. That is aged infrastructure, but since those poles are going to be coming down due to the co-location, we're going to replace that. So kind of all of those pieces were on the council's agenda last week. And as Commissioner did highlight, I did want to draw attention. They did unanimously approve the Parks Commission and Human Rights and Relations Commission recommendation to rename Yancey Park to Garden Park. So staff actually met on that this morning about what our implementation plan was going to be. To do that, we'll probably have a little bit of an interim phase. We'll start referring to it as Yancey Park, formerly known as Garden Park. There'll be a lot of internal changes. We've got some external work to do with just some of the third-party providers that name them, Google Maps, Apple, those types of things to get renaming done, as well as working with our associations. And part of the council discussion, if you wanted to go back and look at it, it was the last item on the agenda on that evening to skip through. was about educating the public that this shouldn't just be a renaming, but that there should be some education and recognition around this that does tell a little bit of a story. They also had a conversation about proximity to the farmstead, and they did kind of talk about that this is one symbolic step, that there may be others that they would do in the future. So interesting conversation by the council, but as I mentioned earlier, I wanted to draw attention that they did act upon that recommendation for you. So those are kind of the city council update. In your packet are a number of informational items. I won't read them to you all, but kind of a couple of big things coming up. Annual buckthorn dump is coming up this fall. We expect it to be pretty busy. I know we had one earlier in the year, and a lot of people were home during the pandemic that probably did a lot of buckthorn cutting. So could be a busy day there. And the other one, working with the environmental health area on organics recycling. Pumpkin smash and bash will be occurring on the 4th. Hopefully we can get some footage of that as well. First time trying that. We've got some new art center workshops that are going live, as well as a senior drive-through resource fair. So obviously the senior center is closed. Obviously pandemic restrictions related due to vulnerable populations, as well as that building is under construction by Hennepin County. So we are doing a resource fair drive-through at the golf course parking lot on Thursday the 5th. So, and then just kind of getting ready for, I hate to use the W word, but we are hiring warming house attendants, and staff for the backyard rink is putting in motion. So just a couple of items there. And then the last piece on your agenda, 2020 meetings and events. The governor's executive order was extended, so the council will have to determine whether they still do remote meetings heading into November. I would anticipate that, but we will update you as well heading into that November and December meetings. And then the council does take action, I believe it's in December, on your 2021 schedule. However, typically it's always been the second Tuesday of the month as you plan 2021 for you. So that's, I believe, all we have for you this evening.
Any other comments by any of the commissioners? If not, we'll call for a motion for.
Sorry, I had a quick question, Perry, about the task and marketing agreement. Are you going to try and work with the Edina boosters because they have an agreement in place to do the hockey games for both boys and girls varsity hockey games? So I would assume that the task and marketing agreement is exempt of that, since the partner that they have, the boosters, is paying the high school to broadcast those hockey games.
I'll have to double check how the intersection works with Edina High School. I think they are outside of our agreement, so it'll be primarily EHA, figure skating, or any tournaments and events that we have there. But we'll double check that.
Any other? If not, I'll call for the motion for adjournment, and then we'll have the roll call taken, I believe.
So,
Second.
If Janet's still there, she could do the roll call, please.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Strother,
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley, Commissioner Darlene,
Aye.
Commissioner Doskotch, Commissioner Doskotch, Commissioner Good,
Aye.
Commissioner Itis.
Aye. We stand adjourned then. Thank you, everybody.
Care. See y'all.
stay safe, everybody.
Yep.
Bye.
Thank you guys.